All right, well, welcome back. I'm Troy. I'm the designer behind Fox and Oak Designs. Still don't know how how I'm introducing this segment or these vlogs, but I'm doing a Christmas vlog. This is day eight of the vlog, and today I thought that I would fix some squares. So if you've watched the last main podcast episode, it's called Entwined Queen Shawl, A New Hat, and Troy Can Read Good. That's the last main episode of the podcast. If you have watched that one episode, you already know what I'm kind of working on here. This is the traveling Afghan, the 2020 traveling Afghan, that was designed by 25 different crochet designers, and it was organized by Two of Wands, which is Alexandra Tavel. As I mentioned in the last episode, the interesting quirk about this pattern is that since it's 25 different designers making an Afghan, and like the structure of how this was designed is that Alexandra, I would assume, had all the yarn and would send the yarn along, but like Alexandra made a block. This one made a block, and then she sent this block, well, not this block, but her version of this block, and I would assume all of the yarn for the project to the next designer, and then they designed the next block, which I think is this one, and then so on and so forth. As you can probably imagine, if you have been in the crochet sphere for a while, or in knitting sphere as well, that different designers and different people just have different gauges. And the quirk of this pattern system, we'll call it, is that each one of these designers have a different gauge. They have a different gauge. So when I started this one, and after about, I was about a third of the way through, I measured my square to see if it's going to be the right size, which is 10-inch squares, and my first one turned out fine. My second one turned out fine once I finished. And so I just kept working. But as time went on, I got into other squares that ended up being a little bit bigger. This one I actually ended up modifying the last couple rows of this pattern, which I believe are half double crochets, to just be single crochets to make it not as big, because this square is bigger than the other two that I've shown you. And as time went on, some of the squares are drastically bigger than the others, finishing with this square. This square is by far the largest out of all of them. And the funny thing is that I think this one's my favorite square. And this one is by, and just so that way I'm covering all my bases. Alexandra Tavel designed this one of Two of Wands. This one that I've shown you is number 6. So this one is from Lisa Sartori of Coco Crochet. This one is number 2. So this one is Cecilia Losada of Mama DIY, and this one's from Spain. The previous one was from Ontario. And then this one is the largest one, and I think this one's my favorite. So this one is by Jess Copham. Copham? I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name. Anyway, this one is by Jess of Make and Do Crew. And I think this one's my favorite. But Jess has a much tighter gauge than I do. I know that I'm a loose crocheter, so I always go down a size based on whatever the pattern tells you to do. It calls for a 6mm. I'm using a 5.5. But anyway, so because this one is 12 inches square, and then these ones are all 10 inches square, and some of them are, and the rest of them are like, I think the smallest one I measured was like 9.5, but all of them are different sizes, but they're all smaller than this one. So I had mentioned that I was going to add borders onto them, and I have for a couple. So this one is an example of one that I've added a bigger border to. Now the question becomes, are these granny stitches or these bobble stitches? Maybe I'll pick a different one that I can tell the difference apart. So this one is an example of a square that I've added border to. So I'll bring that up closer. So this one ends where, it's hard to tell actually. I think it ends right about here. And I added a bunch more single crochets through the back loops to add that kind of border to it, so that way there is like a flow through all of the yarns. This one is by, that's 10. So this one is by Megan Balmer of Megan Makes Do. And I've just added onto this one to make it a little bit bigger. So that way when it comes time for me to sew this all together, all my squares are the same size. So I'm just working through. I'm not really doing any rhyme or reason outside of making sure that whatever color I am at on this ball, I have another one to finish the square. I hope I don't need it though. Anyway, the only rhyme or reason is that if it ends with a particular color, I'm starting this one. So once I get through this border, if I've made it through to the darker tan color here, then I will probably start with one like this that starts with that tan color there. I should say, so this is one that I've started on here because I started this recording this about 30 minutes ago, realized I forgot this, and I didn't turn on my microphone again. Doing great. But I'm working on this one. This one here is this one's number 12, I believe. And so this one is from Square 12, available. Oh, this one I think is one of the ones that the designer no longer has their information available. Let me just double check that. So this one's Square 12, and I don't know the story behind this. If I decide to look up some potential drama later, I'll do that. But this is one of 3 squares, 7, 12, and 18, that has been 12 of the crochet and then 7 and 18 of the knit ones, where they have been made available on the original page of the Square 1 page, so that way you can complete the blanket. But I don't see an artist's name associated with it anymore. I don't know. But this is number 12. This is Square 12. And what I've been doing is when I get to the corners here is I'm doing into my corner stitch. This one has a chain 1 space as the corner. What I've been doing is single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So that way I get a really tight corner. And then some of these ones I've done, like this is an example of one. I've done 3 single crochets into the corner, the very last row, to hopefully make it easier for me to sew it together, but I haven't been really meticulous in keeping up with that. So when it comes time to actually sew all of these together, I'll tell you whether or not that meticulousness was necessary. So I'm just gonna start working here, and after a little while, I'll speed up, do a thing, and then show you what I've been doing. So since I started this one here, what I normally have been doing is just taking my tape measure, measuring how much I need to change, and I just kind of like lazing it across my my lap here. I know it's not a perfect rendition, but it doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to be close. And I'm just measuring. So this square turned out to be 10 inches across, and as my gauge has been working out, that every 5 rounds works out to be about 2 inches of increasing. So since this is a 10-inch square and I need to get it to 12, I'm just going to do 5 rounds of this and measure it. I'll probably do 4 rounds and then measure it there, and then decide if I need to do a 5th round. So I'm just going to sit here, watch some YouTube while I work, and I'm going to speed up the video, and I'll see you guys here once I've finished this square. So, something I didn't really expect is like having the camera on me, which looks like it's crooked. I'll have to fix that in post. Anyway, so having the camera on me is making me a little tense. So you might see my shoulders rise up as time goes on. And I'm going to keep forcing them down and relaxing. So that way, this is actually a relaxing pastime instead of one that causes stress, because right now I feel like I'm being watched, because I quite literally am. By my own design. Thanks for... I don't want you to think that I'm not grateful for you watching. But it's an interesting dynamic that I've just come across. Anyway, back to it. Okay, so I have done 4 rounds of this here, and I'm just going to do a quick little measure to see if I am within 1/8 of an inch of 12 inches for the size of this. And 0, yeah, I am about a 1/16 of an inch away from 12 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and break my yarn here. And I'll do that. And what I like to do to break my yarn here, I can't really see it. I tried setting up a different camera. I have it next to the thing, but I couldn't find a good vantage point without moving the couch forward, and I wasn't about to do that. But what I like to do to finish off my squares here to make sure that they don't have like a little lip on them is I have... I'll bring it up closer to the camera. So what I've done is I've done my normal slip stitch to join my round, and now what I'm going to do is slip stitch into the next stitch and pull it through. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next one. So I've slip stitched into the next stitch, and then I pull the strand through. So that way it lays flat against that edge. And that's how I like to end off these squares. So this square has now been added to, so I'm just going to keep trucking along and work at that. I don't know how to end this. Judging by the timestamps here on the video, it took me about 15 minutes to do these, in this case, 4 rounds on this. So I'm just going to keep trucking on through, and I will see you tomorrow with another episode. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. I have an idea. See you tomorrow, guys.